So my name's Rob Buchanan. I work for Billion Oyster Project, and we're an education and restoration nonprofit. We're trying to put 1 billion oysters back into the harbor and trying to engage 1 million New Yorkers in that whole project. And right here in Bushwick Inlet behind me, you can see a little float out there. And we've got 5 oyster cages. We call them oyster research stations. And today, what we did was take those cages out and measure the oysters in them to see how big they are. We'll come back at the end of the season and measure them again, and that way we'll get a real number on what kind of growth we saw here. We expect Bushwick Inlet to have really good numbers for growth because it's such a sheltered, perfect kind of oyster habitat. And so we're hoping in the long run that these research stations, these little cages that we have, will pave the way for a larger restoration effort here, a big permanent on-bottom reef. That's the goal. We have sort of 3 main talking points about oysters and why we're doing this. And number one is that they provide habitat for other species. An oyster reef is like a coral reef. It's kind of the equivalent in a temperate zone. It supplies nooks and crannies for all these other creatures, especially juvenile creatures, to start out life. So it's a really valuable resource for the harbor. The second reason is water quality, water clarity, water purity. Oysters are filter feeders. They take everything out of the water column, sediment, pathogens, anything that's in it, and they trap it and feed on it, and whatever they excrete drops to the bottom. And so the water is cleaner as a result of oysters, especially in big numbers. So if we could put huge numbers of oysters back in the harbor, we'd see improvements in water quality. And then the last reason is that if we could also restore these oyster beds of yesteryear, we would provide a natural coastal defense for the city, a layer of natural resiliency that would help the city deal with climate change. So that would take a lot of oysters. We're not sure we can get there, but it's a beautiful experiment, and this is, a place like this is where it begins. New York it's the biggest city in the country, and it's built on an estuary, and so we have the biggest impact on the waterways. And so yeah, we're behind in that we've had a bigger impact here, and we've done more damage here than anywhere else. But we also have a lot of energy and money and good ideas in the city like this, and so I think it's the logical place to start. And will it make a difference? We don't know, but we really think it's worth trying. So more information, if you Google Billion Oyster Project, you'll find us pretty quickly. Or you can just come to Governor's Island, where we've got a huge shell pile, and talk to whoever's working there. You can go to our website and click the donate button. That's always nice. And we have a great party called the Billion Oyster Party every fall. I think we're going to be able to do it this fall. We don't know yet. But we bring in oyster growers from up and down the East Coast. They serve their oysters. It's the best nonprofit fundraiser there is. No speeches, just oysters. People love it, and that's a great way to support the Billion Oyster Project.